What up, guys? Back at it again. Last video I talked about mediocrity, and well, by the time I post these, I don't know if it'll be the actual last video, but in one of the recent ones I talked about mediocrity and how it's basically the incarnation of evil, one of the most subtle forms of it. And one thing I kind of was getting at is subtly talking about the implication being, like, if you're actually going to walk the path, like the harder path, the path less traveled, and try to achieve something truly great, which requires stepping onto that harder path, stepping right into the darkness and facing the demons and the monsters along the way. And the thing, so basically now I'm gonna lead into a video talking about just that, about walking that harder path, really, and how one of the big things you'll experience along that path is that nobody's gonna get it. Like, it goes totally misunderstood. You'll basically be deemed crazy and irresponsible and yada yada, because again, you won't adhere to the conventions, basically the conventions and the standard of society. And I air quote standard because it's like I said in that mediocrity video, it's not a standard at all. A standard is something that actually requires like a certain level of attainment, and mediocrity is there is no level of attainment. It's just pure stagnancy or regression. So the thing about trying to be great and trying to walk the path of truth and path of darkness with all those demons and monsters, it's there's a great, and you guys might know it, Teddy Roosevelt quote. It's too long to recite in total in its full length, but it's the man in the arena quote. That credit is due the man in the arena, the man whose face is marred by blood and dust and sweat, that it is he who at least tries. And he says, I'm paraphrasing, but basically, like, everybody else is just sitting on the sideline talking shit, right? And so he says something to the effect of, at least he tried. That at least at the end of the day, even if he fails, at least he doesn't have to sit with, I wish I could remember the exact words, but at least he's not amongst those timid, cold souls who never tried. So it's the man in the arena quote. Like, at least the guy tried, right? Like, most people are out here just not even giving an effort. It's that thing about mediocrity and, like, acting like you actually are something when you're not. Like, you're not even trying and just going with the grain. There's nothing impressive about it. It's easy to shit on the guy who's trying and getting his ass beat because he's actually trying to do something that's truly hard. That's the thing about greatness. Like, it's not certain. You have to go out there and do the things that are uncertain, that are scary, that are hard. The thing about something that's hard, right, is inherently it requires effort. Again, guys, this is all about boiling shit down to its basis nature. Like, what it is, the very nature of difficulty is that it's uncertain. The reason it's hard is because you have to put in this level of effort that, there's just an inherent level of uncertainty about it. Like, the idea is that if you put in the effort over and over and over and over again, you'll get there eventually. And that's like a faith conversation more so. Like, yeah, that's very true. But, like, if you want to be super technical or theoretical, I guess, it might not work out. Like, that's the thing. Like, we don't have a crystal ball. And so the point is that when you're walking this path, right, you're walking this path and trying to get to greatness, the path of darkness, the path of uncertainty. Most people are, I'm not being negative. It's the reality. Guys, I have lived it. You haven't heard my story yet. I'm sure you will one day. People will shit on you the whole way because what they don't know, what they don't understand, they fear. It's the way the human mind works. People just shit on what they don't know. Like, and I don't mean everybody. Again, when I talk about people, I hate using that that broad term people, because it's not everybody, guys. It's just, but you, unfortunately, like, when talking about stuff like this, you have to use those blanket statements. And so I'm sure any of you guys watching this right now, like, you have the level of insight and understanding to be able to discern what I mean. So, but yeah, people are going to shit on you because you're not doing what they want you to do. It's just, there's a whole level of deduction and insight that goes into it. But the simple point is, when you walk that path of greatness, that path of darkness toward the greatness that you aspire to, that you seek, you have to go through a period of just darkness, guys. Like, there's no other way to. It's going through the pain, and like, while you're going through the pain, they're sitting there on the sidelines, and They're sitting. It's you know what? It's the perfect analogy. You guys hear me talk about Gary Vaynerchuk. I love him, and he uses that analogy all the time as well. About like the people sitting on the sidelines, right? Like they bought tickets to watch. They're not actually playing, and it's the perfect analogy. Seriously, like they're sitting there eating their popcorn, eating their little candy bars, eating their hot dog, and having a good little time watching, right? They paid their little, right? That's the thing about mediocrity. Like they paid their little dues. They paid like a small dues. And that's a fascinating point. Like to be part of that mediocre world, there is like a small due that you pay, but then you don't get to actually play the game. That's going into a different conversation, but that's actually a very important point to make. That like there's a small price you pay for being mediocre. Like you do have to do a little bit of work, and you kind of have to follow the rules a little bit and like do what they tell you. There's a little bit of work involved, but not very much. And so what ends up happening is like you end up chained and you can't actually play the game, and you just end up watching the game. And so I didn't mean to distract the analogy there, but the point ends up being that while they're sitting there, they're eating their popcorn and shit, and they're boo, yay, you know how we do when we go to sporting events. You guys have been to a sporting event. You sit there in the stands and you watch, right? Like you have no say, no input into the game, but it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch, and you go to concession stands, and like I say, you get your little popcorn, a little hot dog, whatever, and sit there and have a nice little time and watch. And we boo and we cheer and we do whatever. And guess what? Fuck it, matters nothing, not at all. Guess what? What influence us booing and cheering has on the end impact of the game? Nothing, none. And that's what they're doing. You're the one in the game, working, sweating, shooting the shots, right? That's another great analogy, is shooting the shots, right? You miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So that's a great sports analogy. Like if you don't shoot the damn ball, as in a basketball analogy, you will inevitably miss. You cannot make the shot if you don't shoot. So you're down there, you're shooting, you're dribbling, you're navigating the court and the opponents against you. You're the one doing the work. You're in the game. You're playing the game. And they're sitting there and they're booing, or at times cheering, but their say has no input on you. It has no effect. And that's the whole point to this, is that you will be misunderstood. You won't be appreciated. They're not putting in the work. You are. It's very simple. That you're doing everything they want. And I talked in the last video about how you're just a reflection of their own inadequacies when you're striving for that greatness, and they see the fire, the ambition in you. They see the greatness in you. They see it deep down, even though you haven't achieved that thing you're trying to yet. They see it, like they see it buried deep inside of you, and you reflect upon them. You reflect upon them their own inadequacies, and so they will just talk shit. Again, not everyone, but I'm not going to sit here and qualify everything I say. You're going to get shit on. This is part of the price you pay for greatness. It's very simple. You have to own it. You have to really own that this is the path I've chosen to walk. They won't understand, and it's up to you to win. It's the me versus me battle that I always talk about. It doesn't matter what they say. They get no say. They're not playing the game, guys. You're playing the game. You are the one playing. Understand it. They ain't in the game. They don't get a say. So when they talk shit, it's words. It doesn't matter. Like their opinion fucking matters for nothing. But you just have to be aware of it. You have to be very aware of it. Guys, it's not easy. Like I would be totally lying to you if I told you that it was any kind of easy. It will get to you. It will piss you off. It will drive you insane. It will confuse you because you won't be able to comprehend how am I out here working so hard, working my balls off, giving everything I got. I'm going through, I'm fighting demons and monsters every day. I'm on this, I'm straight up in darkness, and nobody can appreciate it. It's seriously, it is a confounding place to be. Like nobody gives a shit. Like they do not appreciate what you're doing, and it's mind-boggling even for me to talk about it now. Even having seen it in the first person, the way that I've seen it for so much for so long, it's still mind-boggling. It really is. So I'm not trying to tell you it's easy. Like it's mind-boggling to try to get your head around how nobody, how these folks don't see what you're doing. It's really mind-boggling, and it is a conversation unto itself. But it will confuse you. It will scare you in some senses. It will deter you and demoralize you, and you have to get up and keep fighting. As Teddy said, man in the arena. You are the one in there. It's up to you. What the fuck they say doesn't matter. So go get it, because you're a bad motherfucker. Don't matter what they say. At the end of the day, be truly Spartan.